1, 0. Ignition, liftoff. Semper Fi, aim high.
So last week in the Wall Street Journal, there was a kind of remarkable op-ed stating as clearly as anyone has ever stated the nature of the threat that we face from China. The op-ed was written by someone who would know, the Director of National Intelligence, John Radcliffe. He called the Communist Party of China, quote, the greatest threat to democracy and freedom worldwide since World War II. It's an amazing piece, worth your time if you haven't read it. In just a moment, we'll have Director Radcliffe on to discuss that. He wrote this, quote, the intelligence is clear. Beijing intends to dominate the United States and the rest of the planet economically, militarily, and technologically. I call its approach of economic espionage, rob, replicate, and replace. China robs U.S. companies of their intellectual property, replicates the technology, and then replaces the U.S. firms in the global marketplace. Now, those aren't simply legal disputes. They have actual consequences for millions of American workers, on our standard of living, on what your kids will do for a living. Radcliffe noted that in 2018, a Chinese wind turbine manufacturer ripped off trade secrets from a Massachusetts-based infrastructure company called American Semiconductor. As a direct result of that theft, American Semiconductor lost over $1 billion in value and had to cut 700 jobs. Now, that didn't happen because the company, American Semiconductor, was careless. It happened because they were the victim of theft. That's happening everywhere, including in the Pentagon. According to Radcliffe, quote, China also steals sensitive U.S. defense technology to fuel President Xi Jinping's aggressive plan to make China the world's foremost military power. U.S. intelligence shows that China has even conducted human testing on members of the People's Liberation Army in the hope of developing soldiers with biologically enhanced capabilities. There are no ethical boundaries to Beijing's pursuit of power. Remarkable. We know where this is leading, and Radcliffe's op-ed spells it out. Quote, Beijing is preparing for an open-ended period of confrontation with the United States. Washington should also be prepared. Leaders must work across partisan divides to understand the threat, speak about it openly, and take action to address it. John Radcliffe is the Director of National Intelligence, the man with more intelligence before him than anyone on the globe apart from the President. We're happy to have him on tonight. Director, thanks so much for coming on.
Tucker, good to see you.
You spell this out so clearly that it made me wonder why the rest of us, so many in our public life, haven't been saying this for quite some time. You make it sound obvious.
Well, I think you did a good job of encapsulating why, Tucker. There are a lot of people who, for economic reasons, don't want China to be our greatest threat. There are a lot of people who, for political reasons, don't want China to be our greatest threat in America. But the intelligence doesn't lie. China is our greatest threat, and it's not even close. No other country has the capability of essentially taking away the American dream and a specific plan to do so, and the intelligence is clear. So, Tucker, I wanted to use the unique vantage point that I have to make sure, as the Director of National Intelligence, my job is to warn the American people of threats, and there is no greater threat than China to America.
The most jarring part of the piece, I thought, was your description of the massive ramp-up of the Chinese military. And from your telling, not necessarily for defensive purposes. What do you think their aim is?
Well, again, dominate militarily, technologically, and economically. On the military front, they've already achieved having the largest Navy of any country in the world. From a military force standpoint, the People's Republic of China has a military of 2 million. They want them to be the largest, and they also want them to be the strongest, which is why they're engaged in what you referenced, which is called gene editing, literally trying to alter the DNA, experimenting on DNA to make soldiers, sailors, and airmen stronger and more powerful.
That's horrifying. Do you think Beijing anticipates some kind of physical confrontation with the United States in the next several years?
Well, here's the funny thing, Tucker, is China knows at this point that the United States is still the world's superpower. They know they're catching us in all of those respects. They're banking on the fact that we're not going to do anything until they're superior in all those respects. Great generals always say it's better to fight downhill. Right now, the United States can fight downhill. against China. We don't ever want to be in a position where we're looking up at China and all of the plans that they have, all of the initiatives made in China, the Digital Silk Road, Belt and Road Initiative, those are all thin veneers and facades for which China is going around the world and essentially gaining the influence, power to become the world's superpower and supplant the United States in that role.
We heard a lot over the past 4 years about Russia's ability to break into John Podesta's Gmail account. To the extent you can, to the extent it's not classified, give us a sense of China's penetration into our networks, government networks.
Well, it's significant and growing every day. And Tucker, you made a great point in your opening about Russia. Listen, they are a dangerous adversary. I don't mean to minimize them, but you made the point correctly about economically, Russia can't compete the way China can. The largest economy in the world is the United States. The second largest is China. Russia's not in the top 10. Italy, Brazil, and the state of Texas have a larger economy than Russia. So as dangerous as Russia can be, they cannot compete with us the way China is. And China has a very specific plan to do that. And one of the ways that China has made their way to the top is they understand that information is the key to their dominance. So they're going to get there any way they possibly can. That's what subsidizing Huawei and ZTE is all about. Yeah. Those are Chinese companies that are run by the Chinese government. They know that they can steal more information if they run the telecommunications networks over which our information travels. That's one of the ways that China has gotten so good in terms of getting into our networks and into our information society.
We've been asleep. Thank you for helping to wake people up. John Radcliffe, Director of National Intelligence.
Great to be with you, Tucker. Thanks.
Next time you hear someone describe Russia or Turkey or Iran as the greatest threat we face, laugh in their face.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it.